Hey everyone, it's the founder of Developers Academy and creator of Developers Academy Bootcamp. Thank you all for completing this journey with us. This is the last video in our free training video series. I hope that you have been enjoying all of these videos and share with your friends and families and post your questions right down below, sharing with us your complete project. Okay, now in this last video, let's do something special together. We are going to create the StretchyHeader effect. What is that? Well, the StretchyHeader effect, it looks like this. The app will look like after this video. We will implement this view controller. It is a view controller that have a table view, and inside this table view we have a header, and this header is a stretchy headers. So you see that as we stretch it down, the image provides a very nice visual effect. It's like we are zooming out, zooming in, and as we release that, it will become its normal stage. It creates a very nice effect, right? And a lot of you who are using the Yahoo Digest app, and this layout is heavily inspired by this app. So this is a very wonderful design, right? And later on, as we port the home view controller into this StretchyHeader view controller, and as we scroll into a very into a certain amount of scrolling, then we have this pull to close, okay? And as we pull too high or too far, then we can dismiss this view controller, right? So let's learn how to do this. And if you are not following along the previous tutorial, then check it out, this the starter project for this tutorial right down below. It will be the reason why I separate into different videos, and I want to implement really smartly about this, because these view controller, it can be just plug and play. It means that later on in your personal project, you can just copy, paste, and you're good to go. You can just plug those view controllers, change some names, and you're good to use those in your project. Okay, so that's what we will try to implement as independently as possible, so that the code is not tight coupling. Okay, so let's learn how to do this. I will go back to my project. This is my project so far. So let's go to the main.storyboard. In the last video, we check out how to create this home view controller with carousel-like a lot of interest, and we can just scroll left and right to go to this collection view. If you haven't checked out that video tutorial, I highly recommend you to check it out before going any further into this, because as we dive more deep into the course, we will need more information about the previous one, because in the very first few videos, you see that I go a little bit slowly. I take more time to explain things. It's very much like when we are dealing with Sketch. The very first video, we explain everything, but later on, I assume that you are getting much more familiar with those concepts. So I would love you to check out the videos in a sequence of videos, okay? That's why this course is designed like this. Okay, so here is our home view controller. Let's drag out a navigation controller, and the reason why is I will tell you later on when we port this one into the other one. Okay, so I will drag our navigation controller, and let's place it somewhere like this. Let's close that. Right, and actually in this one we don't need a table view controller. We do need a table view, but I don't want it to be in a table view controller. So I will delete this table view controller and just drag out a normal view controller like this. Okay, so I will assign this view controller to be the root view controller, right? And then we don't want to have this kind of the navigation bar, so let's turn it off by using the top bar to none, like that, the top bar into none. Okay, and then we have the top bar to be none. So next we will have a table view. So let's drag out a table view. instead of using a UI TableView controller, we'll use TableView and make it like this. Okay, and don't forget to right click and change and assign this view controller to be the data source and the delegates of this table view. Okay, and I will apply auto layout to that. So it should be 0, 0, 0, and 0, and we update the frames. Then that should be it. Alright, so what about the header view? The header view is actually just a view, okay? Just a normal, a generic UI view. So I will drag out a UI view right down here, and then drag it to the top like this. Actually, it should, yeah, it's like that. Okay, you should make sure that it should be like inside the table view. It is sub view of the table view. Okay, just like that. And then we want the height of that just by default to be 200. The height to be 200. It should be like this. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to have the background image of this table, of this header view. So let's drag out an image. That is my image. So here it is. Now let's apply auto layout for this image view with this header view. Okay, so there it is, just like that, and update the frames. All right, and make sure that it is everything is attached to the super view. Okay, so next let's assign this image to be the R1 and aspect fill. Okay, don't worry if this image doesn't look nice right now, but it is, we will do what we need to do after this. Okay, so next I will drag out some labels for some information about this interest. The first label is here, and that is the system. Actually, right now at this time of the screencast, Apple just introduced the San Francisco system font for iOS 9, OS 10, El Capitan. So I think that in the later videos, when we finish most of these features, we will change the font of the system to the San Francisco font. And as you notice that in our sketch design, I attempt to use the San Francisco font because I heard the rumor before that Apple will use the San Francisco font for the iOS 9 and OS 10 El Capitan. So that's why we will use the San Francisco font. Okay, so the colors, let's use the white color, and this is the system. Let's make it just 12. Okay, and for this I want it to be pull down to close. All right, and let's make sure that it is, the frame is correct by clicking. All right, and then I want it to be centered horizontally and centered vertically. I'm sorry, centered horizontally. All right, so I would do that like this, control drag into that, and I want it to be centered horizontally. And how about do the like this, and let's do the top space. So let's go back to the size inspector. The top space is 8 is fine, and let's update the frames for this. There you go. That should be good to go, right? Next, let's drag our label, a very big label for our interest title. That should be, I think it's 32. Okay, so again it is white. This is 32. Press enter, and travel around the world, something like that. All right, next let's have another label for the number of members and number of posts, like this. and make it white, just 12, right? And this is maybe 120 post, just for the sake of the prototype. And let's duplicate that, and then we have the number of members. Why is it so? Yeah, it's 8. Maybe just leave it as 4, because this is 12. It's very small. And then we have 12 members, let's say. So just 4. And the way I can see that this numbers is I just hold the Option key. It's very much like what we do with the sketch, right? All right. So next, what we will do is we will drag out a button over here so that we can use the button. So here is my button. Actually, the first I want to have a blur view like this, and this blur view should have the width and height of 30, and then I will drag it so that it has the same baseline as that. And so next, let's have the everything in here to be set up with auto layout. So this one is good. Let's have this one to the left, to the not horizontal. I want it to be the trolling. So the travel around the world, let's drag it to the view, the header view, have the leading space, right? And drag it to this, have the vertical spacing. To this, have the horizontal spacing. And for that, let's click it like this to have the width and height. And in Xcode 7, after we click width and height, there's a button down below that allows us to add the constraints. Okay, this is actually a very nice improvement, because like nice adding features, because a lot of time we just add around and we don't know what we just did. Okay, and we want it to be the horizontal spacing. Okay, so for that we want to update the frames. Oops. Okay, let's see. It says the frame for the travel around the world will be different at runtime, and the vertical position is ambiguous for the visual effect view. So we will need to have this vertical spacing, and we are good with that. And for this, let's update the frames just for that. Okay, actually I want it to be 8. Let's delete that one. Control drag horizontal spacing. Okay, and then let's do this, the down vertical spacing, horizontal spacing, and for that vertical spacing, and again horizontal spacing, right? And what do we have here? Okay, now for this travel around the world, maybe we would want it to have multiple lines, because a lot of time the title for that should be like quite big, right? So we want that to be multiple lines. So let's go over here and change it into 0. Okay, and now let's drag out a button for that. Button, and for this one it should be 30 by 30. All right, and make it center like this. All right, and also I don't have this button as button, but want to change this image. So let's open the assets, right? XC assets, and I also prepare for you some of the close button. Here is on the close button. Let's drag it out like that. Okay, you can download right down below. All right, so that is the button, our button. And then I will change this to the close, and we have the button. And then we will have a sign like this, add the constraints. That should be good. How about adding another one? No? Okay, maybe doing like this. Okay, it will do its job. Alright, next we will create a class that was subclass from UI view for our header view like this. So I will go over, click into this, and then I will add a new file, and that should be Cocoa-Text class, and I want it to be we want it to subclass of UI view, and let's call that the interest header view. Interest header view. Okay, and I will just place it here as normal. And now because of this interest header view is not belongs to our home screen, so let's create a new group from that, and we will call this is the interest screen, and we will place it somewhere down below here. Okay, so here is our interest header view. What we want to do now is I want to declare some iboutlet variables so that we can connect all the elements inside our header view to code. So what we want to do is we want to have the background image view, we want to have the interest label, title label, we want to have the number of members label, number of posts, things like that. So let's delete everything like this, and then we will start to declare iboutlet and width var, and then we will have the background image view, and that is UI image view. We also have the interest title label, that is of type UI label. We will have the number of members label, members label of type UI label. We'll also have the number of posts label, UI label, and let's have the pull down to close label, pull down to close label, and it is of type UI label. And maybe you also want to have the close button background view, the blur view that we use, so that in this header view we can configure that, so that we will have a square, a circle background view. So we will use close button background view that is of type UI view. Okay, so that is that. Now what else do we want to have from this header view? Because each of these header view is it will display some of the most important information about an interest, right? We will have the title, we have the header, we have the number of posts, number of members, things like that, and we also have the featured image, right? So what we want to do is our data source in this, or our model in this, is simply just an interest. So we will have a mark of public API, and that could be var interest of type interest, right? And just like what our didSet method, we will have a didSet, just like the cell, right? Just like our home screen, and we have the interest collection view cell. And now in the interest header view, if we set this interest, then we also want to update UI. Okay, then we will write a function private func update UI, and then in here we will configure those elements. So let's do that. We will have the background image view dot image equals background image view like this equals interest dot featured image. We also have the interest title label. The text equals interest dot title. We have the number of members label dot text. That equals interest dot number of members. We have the number of post label dot text. That is interest dot number of posts. Okay. What else do we want? Those things by default, I want to have the pull down to close text label to have the same text like that. So let's do that. Pull down to close text label dot text equals pull down to close Okay, and also I want to hide this pull down to close text label, because we will set this pull down to close label the hidden property accordingly to the amount of as we scroll down the scroll view like this, as it will not, like by default it will not display. Okay, so we want to do the pull down to close label hidden equals true just by default. Okay, and what do I got here? The number of members, an int, so we have to use string interpolation here, right? Because this is an int. And also for this, okay, that should do the job. Alright, next I want to have layout subviews, so that when the views lays out its subview, I want to configure this the close button background, so that we will have the rounded close button background. So let's do that. View layout subviews and super.layout subviews. We always need to allow the superclass to get a chance to do its job, right? So I want to do the close.layer.corner radius. Let's do it as close button background view dot bounds dot width over 2. So because the bounds dot width is the width of this background view, if we do it as over 2 for the corner radius, then we'll have this one as a circle. Next, we also have to set the layers mask to bound property into true, so that it will clips the subview. Close button background view dot layer dot mask to bound equals true. Then everything will be on set. Alright, so what else for us to do? We also need a class, a ViewController class, because this is of type ViewController, right? A ViewController class to set up everything in here, and we will set up the header view for this. So I will go over the attribute, the project navigator, and then click into new file. So we'll have a Cocoa Touch class, and for this one we'll go subclass of UIViewController. And the name of the class, I will name it InterestViewController, just like this. And then I will click next. So I will just place it right there. And then we have the InterestViewController. So let's do some of the cleaning stuff that we usually do. We don't need the receive memory warning, so let's delete that. But in some other cases, like in your real app, maybe you want to handle the case of memory warning, okay? But right now, for just the learning purpose, let's just leave it there. All right, so this is an InterestViewController. The job of it is it will display the information about an interest, and each interest will have multiple posts, just like kind of like a group in Facebook or a room in the Rooms app of Facebook. So each room or each group will have different posts. So we will have, like here we'll have the interest information plus some post, right? So all we need right now is our public API. The first thing we will need to consider about any class is what should we make it public, right, for other people to use it. So right now we just want to have the public API of the var interest, so that other class can set my interest. So my interest is right now. So how about just in this tutorial, okay, about this in a part of the tutorials, let's just use the first interest in our dummy variables, okay? So we have the first interest as our interest. All right, how about let's have an array of, let's have the private property, private. And the first thing I want to do is I want to have an iboutlet with var of the table view, and that is UI table view. just like that, right? Next, I want to have two properties for the table header view. The first one is the table header view height. The second one is the table header cutaway. And maybe right now, let's just have the table view height. So private let table header height, and that is a CG float of I want it by default to be 350 pixels. Okay. All right. Next, I want to have a private property of the header view that is a subclass of interest header, so that later on I can just assign that header view with the table view header view, and I can manipulate that. Okay. So I have private var table header. Header view, and that is of type interest header view. Okay. So let's find out why we would need this header view. So in the ViewDelegate method, I will delete this comment, and we will do header view equals TableView.headerView TableView.headerView table header view as interest header view. Okay, and so we want to clear out this table header view equals nil, and we want to add this one as subviews into the table view. Add the header view into the table view. By this, we can just have this as a convenient property and configure this table view. Okay. So if you look at our demo right here, we want to have this is the table view of 350 pixels. So by default, I want to move down the content view of the table view right down 350 pixels. So that is the property content inset of the table view. So I will do table view dot content inset, and that is UI edge inset. And then I have to specify the top, which is the table header view, table header height. Okay, so this is the table header height. And the left, let's just make it 0, bottom 0, and the right is 0. Okay, now let's have a content offset, and we want to move it down the table header height. Table view dot content offset equals CG point. We have the X, which is 0, the Y is negative, table header height. Okay. All right, and the next thing I want to do is I want to call a method called update header view, and for this method update header view, I want to update all the information that I will need as the user scroll it like that, and we want to update information about the header view. So let's call update header view, and right down here, let's delete that one. We will have func update header view. All right, so in the update header view, I want to have something like I want to have the let effective height equals, well, why do we want to have the effective height? Because you see that we have this one, it is a cut away from our header view, right? So I want to have the height that the content can be in this area. And in order to use this effective height, I want to have another property on top of this. It's called the private let table header cut away. Okay, and that cut away, I want it to be 35 or maybe 50, yeah, 50 pixels, 50.0. Okay, and then right down below here, maybe I want to have private var, and it is of type header mask layer, and this is a CA shape layer. Okay, and this shape layer, what it only does, it is just a layer, and it will mask this one. It will cut it like this. Okay. So next, in the ViewDidLoad, I want to instantiate. In the ViewDidLoad, I want to instantiate an instance of this header mask layer right down below here. So let's do that. I will have the header mask layer equals CA shape layer. Parentheses, just like that. And I want to set the fill color of this header mask layer to be the black color. Dot fill color equals UI color dot black color dot CG color. Okay, because we want it to be CG color. All right, and in order to have all of these mask layer working, we want to assign the mask property of the layer of the header view to be our header mask layer. So I know that it sounds like complicated. It's just why the way I say that. So when we do the header view dot layer, it is the layer underneath any view, right? And then we set the mask for that, and we have the header mask layer equals to this mask. So it could be like this. But the fact that we want to draw something inside this later on in this update header view in order to have the real mask. So let's do that in the update header view. So I will have the effective height of this mask layer. So let's do that. We have the table header height minus the table header cutaway over 2. Okay, then we will have kind of like this space right here. It will be that effective height. Okay, and then we'll have the var header right equals CG right x CG right. Oops. We have the x is 0, y is effective height, negative effective height, width is TableView dot bounds dot width, height is table header height. All right. So now I want to check if the TableView dot content offset dot y is less than the effective height. Then I want to change the origin, the y origin of the header right. Header right dot origin dot y equals TableView dot content offset dot y. And I want to change the size dot height of the header right. Size dot height equals negative TableView dot content offset dot y and plus table header cutaway over 2. Okay. So in order this stuff you will need to learn about those things. You will need to learn about the content offset. You need to learn about the content inset, about the origin, the size, the width, the height, the frame, okay, the bounds, things like that. And maybe I will link down below I will have a reminder here for me, and I will link down below for you some of the video tutorials about the frame, the bounds, the width, the height, the size, the content inset, content offset of a scroll view. Okay, so that because I know that sometimes it is hard it is quite confusing, because if you not use this a lot, then maybe you will not understand this. But later on, when you learn about those things, just draw the picture and trace the code, then you will understand those. Okay, so now I want to set the frame of this header view dot frame into the header right. Okay, so the bounds, now the bounds is actually the view's dimension in its own coordinate system. So what it does is the bounds of this view is the area inside that also, and it has its own coordinate system. And the frame is the view's dimensions in its parent coordinate system. So in this one, the parent of this header view is the table view. Okay, so the bound of this header view is the content inside that, the header inside that, the area inside this header view itself. So the X origin will be like this, the Y will be like this. Okay, and how about the frame? The frame could be like that, and then like this, because this is the frame of this is the size of the table view. Okay, so now I want to create a Bezier path that will cut away the header, and kind of like a rectangle like this. So let's do that. The cut away, I'll have path equals UI Bezier path. So this Bezier path, I want to move to the point of 0, 0, which is right there. Path.move to point, and CG point. X is 0, Y is 0. Okay. Next, I want to add a line to the point of headerRect.width, which is right there, and Y is still 0. So I will move from here to here, and then I will draw a line just like this. Okay, it's right there. So path dot add line to point and CG point. X is header rect dot width, and Y is 0. So next I want to add a line to the point of CG point header rect dot width. The X is CG point header rect dot width, which is still that, and the Y is header rect dot height, which is over here. Okay, we will have that point over here. Path dot add line to point, CG point, and then we want to have the X. The X of this is the X of that is header rect dot width. So we will have an X of header rect dot width, and we'll have the Y of header rect dot height. Okay, so that, let me show you what it is. So the X is header rect dot width, which is this point, but the Y is moved down to header rect dot height, which is that point. Okay, this point over here. All right, now next I want to add the line to the point, to the final point, which is this point. Where is that? This point over here. Okay, so let's do that. Path.align to point, and that is CG point. We have the X is 0, the Y is header rect dot height. So we have the header rect. Where is that? Come on. Header rect dot height, which is up until here, and we will minus the table header cutaway, which is minus this, and then that point will be this. Okay, so we have the header rect dot height minus the table header cutaway, and there we go. All right, and then all we need to do now is we will add this path into the header mask layer path. So we have the header mask layer dot path, and that is path.cg path. Okay, and let me check if it is correct. So I want to have like that, and just to make sure that this header mask layer is instantiated. Okay, all right, so next, how about we will call this method, the update header view, in two other methods. The first one is we will call that in the view will layout subview, and don't forget to call super.view will layout subviews, and that we will do update header view, and we also want to call it in the viewDid layout subview. super.view.layout subviews, and that is update header view. Okay. All right, what's next? Now, if we run it now, we will have a crash. Why is it? Because we assign this table view as the data source and the delegate. We assign the view controller, the InterestViewController, as the data source and the delegate of our table view, right? But we never implement the UI table view data source. So now we have to implement that. Right, so I will have an extension right down below here. Extension, InterestViewController, and that will extend the UI table view controller UI table view data source. Right, and then for this I want to save some time, not just type all those things into here. So I will do it like that very fast. All right. Okay, so now you can spend some time to just copy this code down, but I want to go over with you once, because now we need to implement the number of sections in table view, and we just return 1. We implement the table view number of rows in section, we return 1, because right now we just don't care about the table view yet. And we will set for row index path, we will just get this identifier, the post cell, and then cast it as a UI table view cell and return the cell. Okay, so I will go over the main.storyboard, click to the table view, create a prototype cell, which is 1. Okay, and let's move this view on top of the cell. Okay, and don't forget to change this view into this interest header view, right? And we also have to connect those IB outlets. So let's connect those IB outlets. Right? You get that? All right. So we have the background image view. Let's background image view. The close button background view. Where's the close button? This one, right? We have the interest title label, travel around the world. We have the number of members, number of posts, and we also have the pull down to close. That is that. Okay, and for this cell, let's just name this identifier to be post cell, just like this. Okay, so let me see how's the code going. And also, let me check if we already connect the table view. So we also have to change this class into the interest. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we forgot to change those. So, and the only thing left is just connect this table view outlet into this one, and then we're done. So let's run this one to see if it works. All right, so I run the project and I get a crash right up front. The error message it's very explanatory. It says that my constraint, something over here. So when added to a view, the constraint items must be descendants of that view or the view itself. This will crash if the constraint needs to be resolved before the view hierarchy is assembled. So what it does is we have a constraint error for the travel around the world. Okay, so let's go back to the travel around the world and find out how we can fix that. So this is our main.storyboard, and I want to clear the constraint for this. So let's select into travel around the world, and we will want to clear just the selected constraint. Okay, and then now let's drag this, control drag to the header view to have the leading space. Control drag to the top to have vertical spacing. Control drag to this view, the close button background view, and grab the horizontal spacing. Okay, and then you see that we don't have any yellow or red lines anymore, so that should do the job. And now let's see, it's still that, and that is not our error, it's by design. Okay, because we left this home screen view controller like that, and we jump right into this InterestViewController. Right, so we got another crash. So this one is nil, and maybe we don't want to ungrab that, because right when it lay out subview, maybe the header view, the header mask layer hasn't been set yet. Right, it looks nice, right? But you see that as we scroll it down like this, it hasn't been stretching yet. But there are several things that we did right. The first one is on the layout, on the subviews, looks incredibly great. The second one is, for this one, the cutaway looks amazing, right? And maybe I want to change this into something like system. Okay, the button into system, and we want to fix this stretchy headers, but it works, right? Our drawing code over here, the update header view, it works. So let's go back to main.storyboard, and maybe I want to change this, the button into system, and let's change the tint to be something like black. Let's try if black works. Okay, so right now it doesn't look quite nice, but okay. All right, so let's go back to the InterestViewController, and what all we need to do right now is just call a method, a delegate method of the UI ScrollView again, and that method is ScrollViewDelegate. So as we scroll like that, the ScrollViewDelegate will be called continuously, and as that method calls continuously, we want to update the header view continuously. So right down below, I want to make another extension, and that extension is of the InterestViewController, extends the UI ScrollViewDelegate. It conforms to the UI ScrollViewDelegate protocol, and now we want to use ScrollViewDelegate. Okay. All we need to do right now is just update the header view. Okay. So how about give it a run? So what we want is we want to optional chaining this. Okay. Optional chaining this. In case this one is nil, then we will dump out the whole line, right? And let's run it again. So don't forget this optional chaining stuff. Okay. And now let's prepare for the surprise. Okay. Yay, we did it. So we have this very well, like, it's amazing, the parallel effect, right? It looks incredibly nice. Right. So the next thing I want to challenge you to do is there are a little bit like if you see behind this, the status bar, it is not hidden yet. So I want to challenge you to hide the status bar. And the second thing I want to challenge you is right now by default, I didn't do anything. I want to hide this pull down to close. Okay, and as I scroll to another, like some distance, I scroll down, and I want to show this pull down to close. Alright, I hope that you have been enjoying that video tutorial on how to create the stretchy header effect. I honor you for being here with us until the last video, and we are going to create even better iOS apps, beautifully crafted iOS apps with stunning animation, delightful transitions at Developers Academy, and I hope that I will see you at Developers Academy live event someday. and how you can get to our live event and work with me personally one-on-one in 4 days. Well, we are going to open registration for Developers Academy very soon. So in order to get to the live event, you need to go through our online courses first, so that everyone is on the same page, everyone has the background knowledge, so that on live event we'll laser focus on the main topic, the best features in iOS at the time. Okay, so I hope that we will see each other at our live event very soon. Now, right now I want to play a brand new trailer of Developers Academy for you to give you a sense of how it looks like, what you are going to learn at Developers Academy, and what you can get from that. I will open registration very soon, so watch for my emails. Okay, look forward to seeing you there. Until then, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world.
How can I succeed on the App Store by designing the most beautiful apps without having to hire a team of designers? How can I validate my app ideas, save hundreds of hours of implementation just by prototyping? How can I create beautiful and powerful apps with social networking features? How can I delight my users and keep them staying around with stunning animations and transitions? This is Developers Academy and how to build interactive social networking apps, comprehensive iOS design, prototyped, and development trainings for developers with or without any prior programming experience.